Welcome. My name is Douglas Getz, and you've found your way to the Diving and Thriving podcast. Here, we have enlightening conversations about how we can better navigate this sometimes crazy world we live in. From refreshing spiritual perspectives to tips about personal growth, the focus here is about how we can become better human beings. So I'd like to thank you for being here today, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hey, Doug. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day outside. There's a lot to be thankful for.
Indeed, there is. I'm going to go on a nature walk later today.
That's such a good choice.
Yeah.
And chance to just slow down.
Right.
I feel that. We get on, it seems like we speed up at different times in our life. During the day, we get in our head a lot, and then nature's just
yeah.
You see birds, different types, squirrels, chipmunks, and everything.
I think that your connection's a little bit choppy.
Yeah, I think my signal's not great, but we'll see how it holds up. Hopefully it works. Hopefully it holds up. We shall see. Yeah, man. What have you been up to during this quarantine?
I've just been creating nonstop, literally. I've just been using my time to, work on art, work on the podcast, work on YouTube. A little bit of everything, really. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I'm starting to realize how much benefit there is to being creative.
Right.
Yeah, I'm starting to do some paintings, some watercolors. And it's good to do something without much of a thought of how it's going to end up. You kind of have an idea, and then at the end you have a piece of art. There's something that you can look back on and say, all right, I did this today. This feels good.
Right.
Yeah, especially in the creative realm, we can, I've usually, actually, for me, I haven't really been too creative during my past couple years. I don't really even remember, back as a kid. I've always gone more like, we got to get stuff done. We have a to-do list. We got to do this. And
Yeah.
Yeah, the creative.
I feel like a lot of people are really stuck inside of that realm.
Yeah.
And then they look at something like creativity and they're like, no thanks.
Yeah. What's the benefit to that?
Right.
But there's a huge benefit to it. And really what it does is it opens up that other side of your brain, the creative side. And
right.
Yeah, those things are big. It's really important for us to realize that there's two sides of us. There's the left brain and the right brain, the masculine and the feminine.
And right.
Yeah. Being able to think with your head and think with your heart. It's two totally different ways of just being, really, of making decisions, of how you choose to go about your day. And it's really nice to see the opposite side of it,
Mm-hmm.
I woke up this morning, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna choose right brain today. I'm gonna choose to go with my heart. And I got up and then I said, let me drink some water. Let me eat things that are light. I drank some orange juice, chatted with my dad, and looked at a painting that was on our wall, and looked at something else that was up in our room that says "Have a good now," and it was just, I said, I'm just gonna keep focusing my attention on these things. I'm drinking some orange juice, I'm looking at this painting, I'm looking at "Have a good now," and then I'm thinking all the other wonderful things I feel like doing today. And, things come together so naturally, like almost effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of beauty in that.
There is. And I feel like what you're getting into now is this sense of us trying to control things, or it's either that or like we just, let things be as they're meant to. And that's a huge part of, kind of like either making or breaking life. And I was at my parents' house yesterday. I visited them. We were, of course, like social distancing and everything. But I went down to the creek where the water was flowing, and there's a nice small creek by my parents' house, and I was examining the water, and I was just watching it flow, and I was like, wow, this is just flowing. It's just doing. It's just being. Like there's no thought behind it. It's just happening, and it's just like, it's not like it's trying to control. It's not like this water is doing this and this part of the water is, trying to stop it. It's not like any of that. Like it's all in sync with each other. And like that's how like powerful nature is. Like, it's so interesting.
Yeah. And I really like what you said there about sometimes we feel we need to control things and have it be a certain way. And yeah, it's that is one way we can go about things. And, I've been that way for a while, trying to control how things went and whatnot. And, going the opposite route, like choosing to be water. It was interesting. Back in the fall, I was in charge of planning some events at RVCC. And one of the events that I was planning was this panel that we were having. And so I remember, I planned a couple events before this one, and, I really, other events, I fought to have it be a certain way. It's got to be this, it's got to be this. And then I was working with a team of 2 other people, and they were saying, we're going to take it a different way. We're going to do this. And I had to really make the conscious effort to say, you know what, I could get upset about this. I could try to push it this way. I could get upset. I said, no, I'm going to be like water. I'm just going to let it flow. They want me to uninvite one panelist. Okay, I'll do that. They want it to be a certain way. They want to take it this way. Okay, that's fine. And it was like an exercise. It was effort to let it go and not be upset about it, And I felt that was really good practice.
Because I think that it's effort because it's something that we're not used to. It's in my opinion, I don't really like to label anything, but it's kind of been unfortunate that we've been so ego-ridden and everything, and this tendency to feel like things need to be this way, things need to be that way. That's a virus, man. That's a scary virus. The human autopilot unconscious is a very scary virus, and it takes us to the depths of the abyss, and it's the reason we're seeing societies around the world as they are now, trying to control everything, and this whole idea that it's me versus you or us versus them, it's just not the reality of the matter. It's all ego. It's
trying to get out of that and realize that we're all one. We're all in this together. How can I help my neighbor? What can I do to help?
Right.
Then we really start bringing up humanity and raising the vibrations and helping bring everybody up. But yeah, it being ego related and it being on autopilot. There are times in my past I've definitely been ego driven and on autopilot by it. And it hasn't even occurred to me what I was doing, which is crazy because, I was trying to impose my will and force things to be a certain way. And kind of not really alienating people, but driving them away, or causing not good feelings, unsatisfactory feelings with the people I was working with. And it's a learning experience, really, try to be more conscious in the way we go about creating things, or if we want it a certain way, like, how do we want it to be? Are we okay if it doesn't go our way? Are we going to throw a fit? Are we going to force it to be a certain way? And
right,
the more conscious we are in going about these things, the better. Because
that's really what it's all about,
Yeah, that's really what it's all about. I read one guy was talking. I was reading a post about one guy. He was talking about trying to put in a wedge, kind of like create a gap in your minds where something happens, there's a tendency to react, and instead of reacting in that moment, kind of like training yourself, doing what you can to create a space in your mind between the event that occurs or something that happens, response to it, so that you have a minute or a couple seconds or a couple moments to kind of hold yourself from being the person that we were trained to be, the person we've grown up to, and give us a chance to be somebody new, and see how that how that gets taken. Because, man, we can really get responses based on how we're acting, based on who we're being. And it really opens up a lot of possibilities.
100%.
Yeah, one of the...
And, it's funny, too, because I know that, as we all grow up as individuals around the world, we tend to see ourselves as that, and we really do identify with, the names that we're given at birth, and we, cultivate different sets of belief systems based around that, regarding what it is that we experience, and we carry a lot of that with us. But, the fundamental fact of it all is that none of it's actually real. Like, we're following a construct that, was unconsciously created at some point in our lives. For starters, I don't know how familiar you are with Jim Carrey, but he really said it best the one time. He was basically saying, like, once you get down to, like, once you boil down to the real aspects of, like, who and what we are, the labels that we have for ourselves, including our name, they're not actually real. They don't exist. Like, this sense of self, this sense of identity. And it's interesting because as someone who's very interested in discovering the truth of everything and the reality of the matter.
Yeah, man. I just watched that documentary you were talking about, Jim and Andy, Jim Carrey playing Andy.
Oh, dude, that was such an interesting one for me.
That was really an interesting one, man. It showed that you can really become a different person.
Yes, 100%.
Like, that was
because
wild.
We aren't actually anyone.
Yeah, because who are we really?
Like, and that's something that's also proven through quantum science and quantum physics, is that we have this ability to... I just finished reading Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural, and it's all about how, like I was saying before, we're born, we're given a name, we cultivate unconsciously an entire set of belief systems that probably never serve us because we're not even aware of them, because we're on autopilot, and it ends up basically leaving us to, like, who we think we are, but we can't think of who we are because who we are exists beyond thought. So it's really interesting, this, the whole documentary with Jim and Andy, and how, like, he basically lost who Jim Carrey was trying to play a different character. But then he realized that that's all that we do in life, is we play different characters, and none of it actually exists. None of it's really real, and that's cool too. Like, during his interview in that movie, he even said, he was like, well, wait a minute, if it's so easy to lose Jim Carrey, then who the hell is Jim Carrey? And it's such an interesting way to approach it.
Yeah, no, that part was really, like, the part that really got me was after he was done being Andy, he said he had trouble figuring out who he was after it all, because he played Andy for so long.
Right.
He said, "Who is Jim Carrey?"
Right. And it's cool too because in interviews now, like he catches people and he says Jim Carrey doesn't exist. Like whenever they like try to ask him about Jim Carrey, he's like, Jim Carrey doesn't exist, never has. And it's funny too because like most people would get pissed at that, but I know that he's being genuine about it. Like he literally means that like it doesn't exist anymore, or no, he never existed. And it's funny too because you know even my girlfriend was like, so like what? Are, like when we have kids and everything, are they not gonna have a father? And I was like she was joking with me, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna tell them that I don't exist.
Yeah, they're gonna say, no, you're right here. I can see you. I can touch you. You do exist. Then you gotta go into the mental construct behind it. Like the person I thought I was for 20, 30, 40 years. It's just the thought. And like, yeah, man, it gets real deep.
It does. It really does. And I think that like the deeper aspect of it too, we definitely live in a society very, 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 let me emphasize that one more time, very interested in building on identity. It's a waste of time because if none of it exists, then we're doing it for no reason, you know? Like, and I know for a fact that we live in a society that puts identity on a pedestal because everyone's worried about building on who they think they are, you know? And like, you know, whenever I hear someone say, do you have any idea who you're talking to? It's like, okay. Do you have any idea who you think I am? Like, it's like, come on.
Yeah. Do you know who I am? No, I barely know who I am.
It's an interesting thing. It really is. But someone who passed away recently, who was one of the biggest leading influences of the spiritual revolution and a massive psychedelic traveler, Ram Dass. I don't know how familiar you are with him.
Yeah, he's good. He's here now.
Yeah, he put together a whole documentary called Becoming Nobody. And it's super interesting too because like to most people, identity is everything for them, but it's also nothing because they don't realize that it doesn't exist. So like,
Becoming Nobody.
It's a very
that's
good. Exactly, and it's something that should be followed because like this whole identity thing, like what we are is pure awareness, and the only fact of the matter is that we really can't like actually like build onto that other than like becoming more and more aware, like. But like it should be a relief too because like people are very identified with who they think they are. And a lot of people also want liberation from that. But all they have to do is realize that they never have been what they think they are. So
and you know, it leaves you in an interesting spot if you get to that point because I've been questioning that for myself the past couple of weeks, months. Is like, who am I really? And then, am I this? Am I that? Am I nobody? Okay, if I'm nobody, how do I proceed? How do I move forward in my life? And it's like, well, I can go off of how I've been. I can go off of how I'm feeling. It's like same thing we were talking about before, thinking or working from your head versus working from your heart. And it's like, I don't know. It's a very interesting one. Once you get into it, you know, where does it end? Where do you find out who are you?
Right. And it's interesting too because my girlfriend and I were coming back from some place. I forget where it was, but you know, every single time I hear someone talk, I can hear the cry in their voice that they want to be liberated from themselves, from who they think they are. But they don't realize that that's what they want because they're so stuck inside of it. And every time I've mentioned, you know, like, you're actually none of that, you're the awareness behind it, everyone feels totally threatened by that. But at the same time, it's because they're thinking from that place of sense of self when they're receiving that message. And that's why it's not really received in the proper way, you know?
Yeah, and that's spot on, you know. Trying to, if you can be free of that sense of self, be free of, if you could like access that liberation that you're trying to feel, trying to get to, it's like living in heaven.
Right.
And not much has really changed other than your perspective.
Right.
Like, boy, that is so huge, man. That is so huge. And you know, it's really like, it goes to show that how blessed we are to live in a world, live in this three-dimensional reality that gives us the choices of who do you want to be, what's more attractive, is it this way, is it that way, and then you slowly get to decide. Like, you know, I've been that way my whole life. I'd like to be this way. I'd like to switch it up, and you can do that.
Right.
Like, and we have that ability to say, no, I'm done being this way. I'd like to try this new thing.
It's so interesting.
It really is, man. It really is.
And I think that you tend to be able to see it that way more when you realize that, like, you know, because there was a time when I hit that threshold of, you know, identity and sense of self and negativity. And literally, I kid you not, like, when I hit that threshold, there was a mass, in my mind, there was a massive, wait a minute, what's really going on here? You know, and it just brought me to this, and that's why now, like, I don't hold on to anything. I'm not attached to, like, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not like monk mode or anything. I do practice meditation on a daily and everything, and I'm grateful for that and stuff, but like, I still have some attachments and stuff, but like, in terms of like identity and character and everything, I don't get fixated on a position, you know? Like, it's really important not to, because there's a lot of, you know, suffering that comes with that, and it's unnecessary.
Yeah, you know, like, one thing I've always been good at my entire life has been, like, I've been able to bring people together, be able to be friends with all different groups. So, like, kids who are more preppy in high school, kids who are more like kind of like, I'll say ghetto, for lack of a better term, or like, and everybody in between. I was friends with like a whole variety of people, like the jocks, the people that love video games, like all of them.
Uh-huh.
And like, it really helped me to be able to, even now as I look at Democrats and Republicans, like it really helped me to be able to understand the other person's side. And realize that, you know, they're just coming from what they know.
Right. And
I can understand. And they have valid points. You know, each side has its valid points, and I understand that. It's all good. Yeah. So, like, that understanding is huge. Be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and, like, feel what they're going through. Just let them know everything's going to be okay. It's going to work out.
Right.
Yeah, just to see things through a different lens.
Very important.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits that we get in this life, is we get to see things through different lenses.
Right.
Yeah, it's whether or not it serves us to adopt that or not, or we don't even have to adopt it, just being aware of it.
Right.
There's a benefit.
Everyone wants something in life, you know. They want to experience life in a certain way. It's important to remember that.
Yeah.
And not everyone's the same, you know.
Exactly.
So that's something years ago. My uncle on my father's side, his advice was, because I guess this was around like 5 or so years ago, maybe something like that. And I asked him. I think I asked him like if he had any advice on life, and he said, do as good of a job as you can with trying to spend as much time as you possibly can around people that are different from you. And it's really interesting, because like, coming from him, someone who's like a bit older, I feel like I don't like to do this, honestly, just because it's like, for starters, it's not right, but kind of like, you know, labeling people that are a bit older as more like conservative I kind of used to have a tendency to do that, but he's very open in those terms, and like he's done what he said. So like it's really cool to get that kind of insight, and it's true too. The more time you spend around people that aren't like you, I mean, of course we can all connect on a very profound level. We all have that type of relationship, but we all also want different things in life, and that shines through in everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, totally. And that's actually one thing I'm so thankful for, is I'm so thankful for the different relationships that I've had with different people, and like especially girlfriends. For me, I've learned so many things from my past girlfriends that it's been really eye-opening. And it extends to like all different types of relationships, like you with your uncle, or me with my mom, me with my dad, me with like different uncles and people that have different points of view. It's really valuable to be able to see that there's another way to do things. Like, sure, you've done it this way your entire life, but somebody else lives their life a different way. You say, wow, look at that. That's a nice way to be.
Right.
And you can choose to pick that up if you want. Right.
Yeah, it's cool. It really is. And like you said, choosing to live from your heart or live from your mind. Like, I think two different things tend to come from that, because I suppose living from your mind would entail more of like ego. I mean, I don't want to like conclude to that, but that seems a little bit more relevant. And then living from your heart tends to be with like this unconditionality kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And there's like ego is tricky. When I work from my mind, it's more of a focus on, all right, what do I have to get done? What's on today's to-do list? All right, I got to do all these things. I got to do this, I got to do that. And it kind of puts me in a mode where, all right, well, I just got to work all today. And it ends up being less fun if I just follow that solely.
Right.
And if I work from my heart, like, I could do this today. I can do that today. It's like the opposite, where time is of the essence in one respect. The opposite is, time is my friend. There's an abundance of time to do all this stuff. Got plenty of time for all of it. And there's no shortage of it. And so I see it as like opposite. But definitely when I work from my mind, I'm more concerned of how people are looking at me, how I'm being perceived. I would want my hair to be like a certain way, get upset if like I had like pimples or this or that.
Right.
Because people would look at me a certain way. And like now I'm starting to glimpse the other side of things, where it's just like, oh, this is you for now. It's not you forever. This is just a body. Like, if you like this one hairstyle, go with that one hairstyle. If you want to look a little funky or a little crazy, go for it.
Right.
You have that right. It's all good if you do. And it's really cool getting that opposite side, especially if you've been one way your whole life.
Absolutely.
It really is liberating. We get to be new people. We can be whoever we want to be.
Absolutely.
And whatever's attractive in that moment.
Right.
So, yeah, and what's interesting is, sometimes, like, if you don't have a good sense of self and both options sound attractive, you sometimes, making decisions can sometimes be tough.
Right.
And if you're stuck in the middle between two things, it can be tough sometimes.
Absolutely.
But, the important thing to realize is if I'm ever going through that, I remind myself, in the end, everything works out. Everything's going to be okay. No reason to fret about this.
Right.
It's all good.
100%.
Yeah, it really is good, man. But, I like that. I'm going to check out that documentary you're saying about Ram Dass returning to nothing, you said?
Becoming nobody, basically.
Becoming nobody.
Which, of course,
that, man.
like, everyone would look at and be like, why would I want to become nobody? You know? But you already are not anyone. Like, it's straightforward, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting how we've built ourselves up to be a certain way. And no, we don't have to be that if we don't want to.
Of course.
We have that freedom. So yeah, it's really an enlightening thought, an enlightening perspective, really.
Right.
That we don't have to be who our parents want us to be. We don't have to be like who society wants us to be. And you know, when we start when we start branching off and doing our own thing, you know, it's interesting. We find other people that are doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can find a whole new social group just from exploring something new.
Right.
Find people that are pushing the boundaries of style, of what is normal to wear. And in those groups, it's normal to be outlandish and lavish and dress really funky in a bunch of different colors.
Right.
And that could be like, oh, I found my people.
Right, exactly. It's cool.
But
it really is.
yeah, discovering that sense of self, or discovering who we want to be, is very big. And I read a book. It's called Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and it talked about how life is full of paradox. And,
right.
You know, our conversation touches on it. You know, a sense of self is important. Deciding who you want to be is important. But then also realize that we're nothing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, these paradoxes are sometimes hard to wrap our heads around.
They are.
We're always told, like, you got to develop a sense of self. Who are you? And then the flip side is we're nobody.
That's the fact of the matter. That really is. You know,
yeah.
And that's what I'm interested in too, and that's also something that I'm trying to push out there, like as a because it's something that I believe in, and it's also something that, like, you know, I see people following, you know, trying to build an identity every day, and it's just like, I don't know if you realize what you're doing, like, you know, like referring to the people and what they're doing. It's like, you know, I don't know if it's necessary. And if it's going to fulfill what you actually want in life.
Yeah, and we get the choice. And, you know, this life is a really good teacher. I could definitely attest to that, and I'm sure you can too.
Absolutely.
Life is a fantastic teacher.
It is. And, you know, I remember when I was in my 20s, and I definitely used to look at it as like, why life? Why me? And now I'm like, thank you, life. This is for me.
Yes.
It's so different.
Yeah.
It is so different. It is.
Yeah,
you know,
it really does give us lessons.
Yes.
Perspectives.
It does. And, like, following the whole thing with Jim Carrey and everything, like what we were talking about before, he was giving a commencement speech at a college, which was freaking amazing. And he ended up saying, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And it's just, like, it's so simple. It is. And I really wish that, because, like, most people come at it from a victimized standpoint of, you know, this is happening to me, like woe is me, basically I'm the victim, poor me type thing. But because they're so short-sighted and they can't see all the benefits that are about to come, like, for instance, something that I always like giving as an example is, you know, most people would look at, like, a flat tire as, like, like, that, not to go to extremes, but the end of their fucking day. Like, you know, it's the be all end all. Like, god damn it, I got a short tire. Fuck this. This is bullshit. You know, but, like, little do they know that the person that, I mean, this is hypothetical. Not saying this is always going to happen, but the person that's coming to help them with their flat tire is their next client, you know, like like it's a business partner. It's someone who's interested in investing in them, like, or it isn't, and it's just an opportunity for you not to feel so fucking bad about the fact that you got a flat tire and that it's not the end of your day. Like, it's so simple. It really is. And if people could look at these things differently, they'd feel differently about themselves and their life.
Yeah, the little things, you know, they can be blessings. And
right.
Life gives you things when you're meant to learn them. It gives you like a little challenge, you know. This one guy I know runs a spiritual shop. He's got a collection of bumper stickers. One of his bumper stickers, it says, "Oh no, not another life lesson." I'm like, oh, that's so good. It's not another challenge that's going to throw me off my game. It's, oh, not another life lesson here.
That's funny.
And, you know, I think one of the best things that we could do for ourselves is get us in a mode, get us in a frame of mind where, one, we're in the flow. We can get in the flow and we understand everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to work itself out. Like, just
right.
Work on feeling good, go on a run, do some exercise, meditate, work on getting in the flow. You know, things work themselves out so smoothly.
Right.
It was great. And, you know, one example of that is because you get a confirmation that you're in the flow when things are working out. And when they're not working out, if you're not concerned about them, then they work out, and you just get to be the observer, the witness, and say, "Wow, look at that! Look at how that came together. Couldn't have predicted that."
Right.
I had an experience about 2 days ago. I was getting together with some friends, and we had a real nice night. It was nice linking up with friends again, getting that social interaction in person.
Right.
And at the end of the night, I was ready to drive home. Just met a new friend, and I remember thinking, I got to my car, I exchanged phone numbers with him, I gave him a call so he had my number. Then I got in my car and I said, I wonder what music do I feel like listening to? I said, you know what, I'm gonna put it out to the universe. I'll let the universe give me a music suggestion. And so I just dilly-dallied a little bit. Like a minute later, my new friend called me and said, "Yo, dude, I know you got to drive back to New Jersey. I don't know if you know what you're listening to yet, but I got a music suggestion for you if you're interested." I said, "What? Oh my gosh! Look at how that just came together."
That's fate right there.
I was just beside myself, just looking at like, wow, look at the universe taking care of me. That's asking, ye shall receive right there.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It always works out that way.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Apparently our job is just to get into the right frame of mind, get into goodness and wholeness, whether that's exercise and meditation, and just follow that and stay in that frame of mind. And being in that frame of mind, we attract all the other good things that we want toward us.
Right.
And apparently, you know, if you follow Abraham Hicks, you ever follow her?
Yes.
Yeah. If you follow her teachings, it's really just, that's our only job. Really.
Right.
Is to get into the right frame of mind, get into the flow of things, be appreciative.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Just react and see how all the things are coming toward us. She said, she gave this one story about how another mobile home or something, motorcade, you know, the type that you drive around and you live in, just scraped up their whole side and just like did a good couple $1,000s worth of damage. And then the lady that got out said, "Oh, it's just some metal and some paint." I said, "No big deal." I said, "Whoa, that is such a good perspective."
You mean the person that got out of the mobile home that was scratched up?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that person. She said, "Oh, it's just some metal and some paint that can be repaired. No big deal." I said, "Wow, look at that." So
that's wild.
Yeah, it really is your perspective on things. And, you know, I really like the perspective that things are simple. Nothing's really that big a deal. Like, yeah, we get the choice in this world of duality of what we want to subscribe to.
Always.
It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Chris, you got anything else? This has been a pleasure talking with you and chatting with you.
Yeah, it's been great. Trying to think. I think that pretty much covers everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it does for now.
Definitely.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. You know,
you're welcome, man.
You were one of the guys that really helped me get over the hump and starting this. So I got to see you with your podcast, Awaken Space, and it's just nice seeing people doing what you're doing, what you want to do.
I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you were a big influence in me starting up this podcast. So I wanna throw out a thank you and really show some appreciation.
Oh wow, that means the world to me. I appreciate that. Now, the message that we were trying to get across earlier in this episode about how, you know, just doing, like not worrying so much about the outcome and just doing and being. That's what it's all about. Because, you know, we can do, be, and create anything we want to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we really can. We really can. We just got to get out of our own way sometimes.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Facts.
So let's keep doing that, and I'm sure I'll have you on again soon.
All right.
All right, brother.
Take care, Doug.
Have a fantastic day, and enjoy.
You do the same, and I will. Absolutely.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Talk to you soon. See ya.